Good morning. The class today is going to be about flat and inverted nipples, as you saw on the title, and how you as a mom can still breastfeed despite the fact that you may have a flat or inverted nipple. Usually at some point during the milk increasing or the milk coming in, as a mom would say, we no longer like to use that phrase, the milk coming in, because there is milk already. But when the new milk or the milk increases, which is by day 3 to 5, a lot of moms can have full breasts, and it could be so full that the baby cannot latch. The nipple can be flat. This can also happen in the hospital if you've had a lot of fluids and the breasts become swollen, and then it can also be hard for the baby to latch. Or I shouldn't say that. Let me take that back. Yes, it can be hard for the baby to latch for some babies, but a lot of times if a baby is put on the breast or put skin to skin and allowed to go to the breast on their own without intervention, a lot of times baby can latch just fine on a flat or inverted nipple. The difference between a flat and inverted nipple is the nipple is either flat or it's inverted. And inverted means it's inside, and typically when the baby latches correctly, which is grabbing a mouthful of breast, the dark skin around the nipple should be as much of that in their mouth as possible. As a mouthful of breast is what we like to say. And they can, as soon as they start suctioning, that nipple will come out. A lot of times somebody may say to a mom in that situation that she cannot breastfeed. The baby is not going to be able to latch, and that she's going to need a nipple shield. So we're going to talk about nipple shields, and you're going to get different opinions on the nipple shield. Is it safe? Can a baby, what's the word I want to use? Not really safe. Is it productive? And will it harm the milk supply and that kind of thing? And you're going to get different opinions. Some they'll use the nipple shield without any question. Like they'll just say, you would, be the best candidate for a nipple shield. I am not against nipple shields. You can meet some that are totally against it and they don't think it should be used at all, and some that use it too loosely. And in my opinion, all tools are good if used in the right way and if it's really needed. Some cases, a mom does not need it. There was one mom I knew who was told the baby would not be able to latch, and when I saw her, her nipples were perfectly fine. They were not inverted, they were not flat, they were fine. But probably when she was in the hospital, her breasts were probably swollen. And a lot of times, if given a lot of IV fluids, your breasts can be swollen, and that nipple can typically flatten, possibly invert a little bit, but typically flatten, and it's hard for the baby to latch, especially if they've been given pacifiers, because then they expect a mouthful of a nipple and they don't have that. So a lot of times a hand expression or using like a manual pump or an electric pump can help pull that nipple out. Or basically your aim is to soften that breast enough for the baby to be able to compress, latch on well, and begin to feed. And nipple shields are great when no amount of trying to get that baby to latch is working. You're not able to get that baby onto your breast. No matter how hard you've tried, you just can't get them to latch. And that's when you pull out that nipple shield. And it's a tool. It's something that you use to help you gain the goal of breastfeeding your baby. So you want to look at it as a temporary fix, and you want to get them feeding on the breast and get them used to the breast. And sometimes during the feed, you can slip it off and get them back on, and they won't know the difference. Sometimes you have to wake them early on and have them practice on the breast before you pull out the nipple shield. So I am all for using a nipple shield as a tool, and in cases where we cannot get the baby to latch. And some babies are given bottles or pacifiers really early, and they don't want to latch on the breast, especially when they're hungry. If you do it when they're not hungry, you practice a lot with them not hungry, you can probably have an easier transition, which means basically you want to try to wean them off. The reason a lot of breastfeeding specialists don't like the tools, especially like a nipple shield, is because a lot of times it can affect milk supply. So it's really important to make sure that after each feeding you hand express or pump the breast to make sure it is empty. Because anything left in there, it will stop making. So if there's an ounce left in the breasts, it's going to stop making that ounce. And we don't want that to happen. We want the breast to be completely emptied. And so this is one of the reasons why you may meet some who are totally against using nipple shields. And like I said, for me, I've seen them work really well. And I've used them in cases such as a baby being so used to a bottle, and it was the only way we can get them on mom's breast. And remembering that the flow is not as fast. So if your baby is given a bottle, they're not going to necessarily like the slowness of using a nipple shield. So you may have to do a little bit different feeding with the bottle. I will try to link a video below that talks about how to properly hold the bottle when you're bottle feeding, and this will help transition the baby back to the breast without getting too used to a fast flow from a bottle. So if your goal is to get them back to the breast, then we've got to do different things to make sure that they don't come to choose the breast over, or choose the bottle over the breast. So in 2 cases, I have had really good results. But the one that was an excellent result, she was able to exclusively breastfeed until her baby was 6 months old, was a mom who pumped after each feeding. You can also add an extra pumping a day just to ensure your milk supply is good and to start creating a supply in your freezer. So let's talk a little bit about a nipple shield and what it looks like. I will try to put some pictures below. You've got, it's like a thin, I want to say like a silicone, it's real flexible, soft, and it kind of suctions onto your nipple, especially once there's a little bit of moisture, and it'll suction, and then the baby will use that, and as they're feeding, the milk will come into the nipple and they'll be able to get it. The other negative at times has been like damage to mom's nipple. So if the moisture is left there and you put a bra, put your bra back up after, it could cause some rubbing and cause some abrasion to the nipple, so you could get some bruising, some sore nipples. So you got to make sure that you allow that nipple to air dry as much as possible before you cover it with anything. Any moisture that sits on the nipple like that is going to eventually cause some discomfort, so you have to try to make sure it's dry before you cover it. So nipple shields, there's different kinds, different brands. The ones that I have worked with is Medela, but definitely there are different brands that you can try. There's different nipple sizes and different nipple types, so you can look into that as well. And again, avoid pacifiers at the time, just because your ultimate goal is to transition them back to the breast. And the way you'll do that is you'll start off with the nipple shield, and then you'll try to like sneak it off and get your breast in their mouth once they've been feeding well. Sometimes they'll latch really great. If you wake them up while they're a little sleepy, they're not quite ready to eat, they may latch really good at that point as well. But you're just practicing, and if you cannot get the baby to transition, you just continue using your nipple shield and remembering to pump after each feeding, just to make sure that your breasts are empty, or hand expression, whichever you have available to you. So you want to just make sure that you are able to empty that breast, really get that breast empty, because that's the only way that your supply will stay, up there with what your baby needs. And babies go through growth spurts, and during those growth spurts, they increase your milk supply by sucking on an empty breast. So whenever you can get them to suck longer, let them, even if there's no milk coming out, that's okay. And then, like I said, always practicing with the nipple, without the nipple shield, to see if you can get the baby to eventually get better at latching. Once they're good at feeding, or they're a little bit older, it's easier to and quicker to learn. So never give up trying. You may have to use a nipple shield for a while. You may have to use it your whole entire time, but you just want to continue trying. It will be better for you and the baby and your milk supply if you're able to get the baby eventually just to the breast. But like I said, I've seen success with breastfeeding exclusively for 6 months using a nipple shield, but pumping after each feeding. So just being sure that that breast is empty. Then we can talk about, there are everters, which is basically something that goes into your bra, and it has like a hole, and what it does is it kind of tries to suction out that nipple if you have like an inverted nipple. It suctions that nipple out in between, so that between feedings it's kind of pulled out a little bit, and it helps it easier to latch when the time comes. So you may try that first before you try a nipple shield. You may also try to pump for a minute or two, maybe not even that long, on the breast. Once you see the nipple is extended and out, you can latch the baby then. So you may have to do something like that before each feed to get that nipple out, just depending on the reason yours is flat or inverted, as well as if it's inverted. If it's flat, it may or may not come out, but it is something that you can try. You can research some of these tools. There's a supplement feeder. Those are nice to use if you're trying to transition the baby to the breast. But those aren't necessarily going to pull the nipple out or help the baby to latch differently. So the practicing on latch and finding your support person, whether it be a peer counselor at WIC or an IBCLC at the hospital or a CLC in your area. You can look up CLCs in your area. I'll see if I can put a link below for that as well. So that's kind of the gist of flat nipples and inverted nipples and how to successfully breastfeed. Again, any information I could put, I'll put below in the description for you to check it out. Hand expression is just as good, if not better, than a pump. So if you can't afford a pump, learning to hand express is going to be really beneficial for you, no matter whether you have perfect nipples or different. It's just flat or inverted. So I will put a link below for that, and you can also check out other YouTube videos on how to hand express. I really encourage you to learn how to hand express, because it's just quicker, and like I said, it actually is more efficient than a pump. So definitely you want to determine, if you can, even before the baby is born, what your breast nipples look like. And if the breast size doesn't really matter. I will be talking a little bit about nipple size in another video. So if you have like a really large nipple and what is considered a large nipple, we'll kind of talk about that as well. And like other common problems a mom might have if she has a flat or inverted nipple. So like I said, I'll try to put a good article below for you to check out. If you have any questions about this topic, definitely comment below, and don't forget to subscribe, because each video I put out, you'll get an alert that the new video is up. Also hit the like button if this subject was good for you. I really think flat and inverted nipples can sometimes cause a lot of problems, not because itself, flat or being inverted, is not a problem necessarily in itself, but just the knowing how to adjust to that, and if there are problems, kind of like what you can do to make sure you can breastfeed. And then if you are struggling, you kind of know why and what to do, and you have a little bit of some tools to work with. You don't want to feel like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to breastfeed because of this. Not so. And it's also not so that a baby will automatically not be able to latch. That's something that's really important, is that just because you have a flat or inverted nipple does not mean a baby can't latch onto it. If you avoid pacifiers or any other type of nipple in their mouth, you can use like a medicine dropper or a medicine cup to feed them until they can learn to latch on you, like in those first couple of days. But a lot of times if you do skin to skin without any intervention, let the baby crawl to the breast and latch, they'll be able to latch perfectly and not have to have a nipple. You don't have to have a nipple to come out for a baby to feed. The milk is still there, and if the baby can latch onto that breast, the baby can feed. The biggest point is whether the breast is too hard to feed. If it's hard, then you're going to have to soften that breast a little bit so the baby can latch. Because if you can't squeeze a couple fingerful of your breast, the baby won't be able to latch. So your goal is to soften it just enough for the baby to latch. You may do that through hand expression or a pump, through a hot shower, warm claws, whatever it is you want to do to get some of that milk out so that the baby can latch. Breastfeeding positions can help as well in this type of situation. So you may try different positions and find the best one that seems to work for you and your baby. I hope that pretty much answers that question. Yes, you can still breastfeed with flat and inverted nipples. You may or may not need tools. Always try first and use a tool when it comes absolutely necessary. So that's pretty much it for that topic. And like I said, leave any questions in the comments below. You can also email me. You can check out my Facebook page. You can comment on that as well, and I will try to comment back. And if there's another video request, please leave that in the comments below as well. So be sure to hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys again very soon. You guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video.